Welcome to the Electrical and Electronic Engineering Lecture Series. Our anchor person is Professor Michael Ndinechi. The topic is still types and structure of the general purpose computer, part 3. Before we start, please follow us in this lecture series by subscribing to my YouTube channel at https://youtube.com/@NdinechiMichael.c. Like, share, and drop your comments in the comment section or reach out to me using my email addresses. You can listen to my introductory lecture on computers in Module 6 at the link. You can also listen to part 1 of this module using the link, and you can also listen to part 2 for better understanding of this part. If you recall, in part 1 and part 2, we've talked about primary, or what we call the internal storage or internal memories. Today, we are going to continue with the secondary, or what is referred to as the external memories. So the term secondary memories refers to storage devices that are non-volatile and are able to store large volumes of data. Secondary storage devices are used to store programs that are not currently being executed by the computer. They also store data that is not needed by primary storage. For various architectural and efficiency-related reasons, the contents of the secondary storage are first moved to the primary storage before they are being accessed by the central processing unit, the CPU. External storage devices are permanent storage medium coated with magnetizable materials on which information is electronically stored. Some external storage utilize optical storage technology to store massive amounts of data and information on corresponding optical medium, example, optical discs. A number of external storage devices exist, which include the hard disk drive, referred to as HDD. The hard disk drive is the most reliable external storage device used on most computer systems. Hard disks are normally sealed to shield them from magnetic field. My question here is, why do you think, as my listener, as a student, that this hard disk drive should be shielded from magnetic field? If you know the answer, drop your answer in the comment section. Answer. Data retrieval on HDD is by random access, similar to selecting any record segment on your phonograph by lifting the arm and moving the play pin head to the exact location track and putting down again to play. We have the next one, which is the magnetic tape. We see that high capacity storage can be obtained by using magnetic storage tapes. Storage capacity is in the megabyte to gigabyte ranges. Magnetic tapes are commonly used as backup to the hard disk drive. Likewise, the flash drive. They are the most commonly used external storage devices on personal computers. CD-ROM. We've talked about ROM as read-only memory, but with improving technology, we now have what is called the compact disk read-only memory. And we say that this CD-ROM usually comes with pre-recorded data and cannot be altered once recorded. However, it has metamorphosed into those that can be used to write, erase, and rewrite, which are known as the rewritable CDs. And further still, it has moved up to the DVD, which is digital video disc, which can hold up to 12 gigabytes of data. Now, we come to very important terminologies in computer systems called the bits, bytes, and word length. Now, memory sizes are measured in bits and bytes. The bit is a binary digit of 0 and 1. It is the smallest single storage cell which can be set to 1 or reset to 0 value. The byte consists of 8 consecutive bits, and in most cases, a byte is used to form a character. Therefore, the kilobyte, represented as KB, is 1024 bits. That is the decimal equivalent of 2 raised to power 10 bytes, written as 1 KB. A sequence of 4 bits is known as a nibble. The number of bits used to convey information or data in a computer is known as its word length. Some computers use 4, some use 8 bits, some 16 bits, some 32, some 64, some 128, and so on as their word length. Now, let us understand exactly the meaning of these 3 terms we have defined: the bit, the byte, and the word length, by looking at simple arithmetic, not mathematics, simple arithmetic. Say a computer that uses word length of 4 bits means that that computer can only have 2 raised to power 4 addressable locations, which is 16 locations. Likewise, a computer that uses word length of 8 bits means that that computer can have 2 raised to power 8 addressable locations. That is 256 locations. And at this point, we can ask, if you ever remember something you have wanted to do using your computer, using your handset, and the device did not allow you to exceed 256 locations or numbers. The meaning is that your system is limited to 8 bits. If we go further, a computer that uses word length of 16 bits means that that computer can have 2 raised to power 16 addressable locations, and that is equivalent to 65,536 locations. You can see that in some programming languages like Basic, Fortran, you are not expected to exceed 65,536. The meaning is that If you divide this number by 1 kilobyte, which is 1024, you will now see that this is equivalent to 64 kilobytes. So if you have a system or a device that tells you that the capacity is 64 kilobytes, it means that the word length used in that system is 16 bits. So if you move further, a computer that uses word length of 32 bits means that it can have 2 raised to power 32 addressable locations. That is, can address 4294967 locations. So if we continue like that, if you look at a computer that uses word length of 64 bits, you can now see the number of locations you can address. So my question is, if you use a computer with 228 bits, you will have 2 raised to power 128 bits, 128, and use your computer, your calculator to see what it will give to you. Then if you divide it with 1024, which is 1K, you'll be able to see the difference when you have your memory capacity in kilobytes, in megabytes, and in gigabytes. So we ask another question. What do you think is the use of these locations in any computing system and even your mobile phone? Please drop your answers in the comment section. Then, if you subscribe to my channel and listen to Module 4, you'll be able to find these questions answered. The last thing in the component of a computer, which we have not treated in the hardware section, is the clock. We say that a digital computer requires a very accurate timing to ensure that all parts work exactly at the same time or work synchronously. It consists of a crystal control circuit which generates a continuous stream of rectangular pulses of very stable frequency. These pulses are fed to all circuits in the computer system to ensure that they work in exact synchronism. As we get to our further lectures on computing, when we look at the Boolean algebra, the logic gates, and the sequential circuits, we'll be able to see exactly how the clock operates in the computer system. So we conclude by asking our listeners, the students, to try to provide answers to these 4 questions in the comment section. As you do that, you will be close to earning a badge from this channel engineering lecture series. Drop your answers in the comment sections and work towards earning a badge from us. Thank you for listening. Share and follow us in the next lecture series, which is part 4 of this module. Thank you.